So 2 till 2:45, I think that's probably enough welcome screens for one day. We'll do some introductions first of all. So my name's Alastair Dawes. I'm the Director of Business Development and Enterprise here at Staffordshire University in the School of Digital Technologies and Arts. On the call, we also have Jake Dowson, who's the IT Development Manager at Stormking. Jake, give us a wave. Hopefully everyone can see you. That's Jake. We have Alex Lomas, who's the Senior Innovation and Growth Specialist at Innovate UK Edge. Alex, give us a wave. Actually, this waving is a bit nonsensical, isn't it? Because your names are underneath your pictures anyway. But we'll carry on with it, Steve, so you don't feel left out. Steve Hargreaves is the Employer Partnerships Business Development Manager at Staffordshire University. Finishes off, Steve. Go on, give us a wave.
Give you a big wave. Pleased to be here. Thank you.
We'll get straight into it. We're going to talk today a little bit about how the government can support you with funded projects to help you to innovate. The government are keen on businesses innovating, and for that reason they pump an awful lot of money into businesses to help them to do that. So there are lots and lots of opportunities for you to bid for, apply for funding to support you to be more innovative. I don't know whether there's anyone on the call who's already had any government innovation funding in the past, but we're going to look at a few examples of that today. I'm going to show you websites in a second, as long as I can keep the technology working successfully. And we'll have a look at those, and then we'll go on, and we're going to talk specifically today about something called KTPs. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about KTPs and some of the benefits of them, and then I'll hand over to Jake, who's from our partner business, one of our partner businesses, and Jake will talk to you about the business experience of KTP as well. So most of the funding involves some sort of match. That doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to financially match it with cash. You can match some of it with time as well, so your time, your staff time, but sometimes there will be some cash element of the match funding as well. And in a lot of the programs, you can bring in a research institution or organisation like our university to support you with that innovation. So the government are trying to link together the research, expertise and knowledge that we have within universities into your businesses to help you solve your business challenges. And that's the fundamental position of an awful lot of the government funding that's available. The funding is applied for via competitions. I'm going to show you that web page now. In theory, this should work if I do that. And that, can everyone see that? So that's the Innovate UK competitions web page. Hopefully you can see that. Yep, good. So if you look down, just having a look and a quick scan through now at the number of different opportunities that are available. This is quite an interesting one with a link up to Singapore. So if you've got, want to link up as an SME over there. You've got climate ones. There's lots of, anyone fancy doing some quantum technologies. So there are lots and lots of competitions, and you'll see on this, generally competitions will have an opening date and a closing date, and they'll have a variety of eligibility and requirements in there. So you can look at those at any point and get in touch with us, and we'll help to support you to apply for those applications. And again, that's something that Alex's organisation can help you with as well. All of these are run through Innovate UK, which is the second link on that slide. Okay, and again, Innovate UK are part of UKRI and are set up there to help businesses innovate within the UK. So we'll go back to the slides. So those are those two links there. The types of funding available will normally depend on the size of your organisation as well, and what's called the intervention rate. That is the percentage of the funding that the government, or the cost that the government will cover, depend on your size as well quite often. And SMEs and small companies have a higher intervention rate in general than large organisations. And that's the case with KTPs, which is what we're going to look at now. So a KTP is a knowledge transfer partnership, and it's a project where knowledge is transferred from a university into a business, and vice versa. Actually, quite often the knowledge comes back into the business and into the university as well. And this knowledge is transferred through the use of something called an associate. Now, an associate is a full-time student, or not student, a full-time graduate who works for you. So they've just graduated within the last 5 years, and they come and work full-time for you on your site for the duration of the project. The project's normally between 12 and 24 months, and most of them are 24 months. They can be longer, so you can go up to 36 months, but most of them are 24. It's a funded project, and the intervention rate's between 50 and 67% of costs. So if you're a large company, it's 50%. If you're an SME, it's 67%. SMEs less than 250 employees, and a turnover of less than a number that Steve will tell us towards the end, because I've forgotten. The average cost based on the 67% intervention rate is about £32,000 a year. And that's a flat rate to you at 32,000. You pay it monthly. There's no on cost or anything else. You're not employing the graduate, we are. So that's what the numbers look like. Most of the projects are in STEM subjects, but they can be in any field. So in the past, we've done marketing ones, you can do management ones, but quite a lot of them tend to be in STEM subjects. Your business, so there's some requirements from the government's point of view. Your business must be stable and have at least 6 employees. They'll want to see some accounts at some point to verify that they're investing in a business that's going to be able to take advantage of the investment that they're making. Talk a little bit about the benefits. So what do you get out of a KTP? You get a full-time graduate for the length of the project. That's the person called the associate. They're employed by the university, so it doesn't count towards your head count. You get an academic expert all the way through the project as well. And that's half a day a week of academic expertise every week on your site generally. So generally, COVID obviously has changed things somewhat in the last couple of years, but generally academics will come out to your business, spend half a day working with the associate and your business to solve the challenges that are defined within the project, this innovative project that you've come up with. As well as that, you get project budgets. So up to £4,000 of training, up to £2,000 of travel, and up to £2,500 of equipment. And those are all included within that flat £32,000 a year fee. So all of that is included as well. And you've got access to the wider university resources. And quite often, some of these will be really important for us to meet some of the innovative challenges that you've got. And I guess from the government's perspective, they're investing this money. They want to see really quite innovative projects. Now, I've done many KTPs in the past, and I've not yet come across a challenge that actually we weren't able to pitch at the right level of innovation for the application to be successful. So that shouldn't be something that's a complete deal breaker. So as well as that, to benefits, on average, during the 2 years of the project, there's about a £384,000 increase in profit on average for these projects, which is excellent. And when we talk from the government's point of view, when we say the business value to your business, when we put that as part of our business case to the government, that's what they're interested in. They're interested in profit. They're not necessarily interested in sales or anything else, but they're obviously linked. They're interested in your profit before tax that you'll make as a result of the project. So it's relatively low cost. It is high impact innovation. The government is sharing your innovation investment risk because they're paying for either 50% or 67%, depending on the size of the business. And often it costs no more than just employing the graduate anyway. So if you were to take a graduate on for any reasonably innovative, complex project, then by the time you put on costs and everything else in, you're probably going to be paying more than you would on a KTP anyway. And your company contributions are eligible for R&D tax credits as well, so you can get a little bit back from that as well. So there's lots of really good benefits. We love them from a university perspective because those long-term 2-year relationships that we strike up with you as a business really help us to make an impact on what you do. It's a great experience for a graduate. We like the graduate to come from us if we can find the right graduate, but the graduate can be from any institution at all. And we've had in projects, we've had graduates from all over the place, from all over the world, actually coming in to support projects. And the really important thing about that is that we find the right graduate. And it's an employment process that you are part of, you are leading. These people are going to be working for you. So we did 10 years ago, 11 years ago, we've just identified. We did a project at KTP with a company called Stormking, and we were lucky to find a particularly good graduate. And he's still at Stormking, and I'm going to introduce him now. So I'm going to hand over to Jake. Jake, that's your first slide, I think. Are you are there and ready to go? Jake, I'm going to turn my camera and my mic off, but I am here. So if you at any point want to bring me in, ask a question, make a comment, then feel free to do so.
That's fine. That's fine. Just want to check the audio is coming through.
Yep, fine.
Marvelous. Okay, so thank you for that introduction, Al.
I've just unshared my screen by mistake instead of turning my camera off, Jake. Hopefully my screen is now
wait
back,
for you to finish.
and I'll click the right button this time.
Okay, so yeah, as Al mentioned, I've been working at Stormking for roughly 11 years now, and I was brought on board as part of a KTP as an associate. And over those 11 years, obviously the first 2 years were the KTP itself. We then followed up with a shorter KTP, and then I was employed by the business and eventually became IT manager, started a team of my own within the business. And we've recently just finished a 2-year KTP as well. So both the business and myself have a little bit of experience around the KTP process and some of the benefits that we managed to derive from it. So I'm quite a big supporter of the KTP initiative, as well as Staffordshire Uni. So looking at some of the benefits we derive from the first project, obviously one of the most important and talked about aspects of these projects ultimately boils down to money, as that will be one of the key things that gets funding, but also you as a business, you care about actually making profit from this process. So we were able to demonstrate, even though it was an IT administrative project that we were undertaking, which is normally can be challenging to actually demonstrate the profitable impact, we were able to demonstrate at least a 15% positive impact on profit during the 2 years or the 3 years of the first 2 projects that we undertook, and then in subsequent years a further 20% growth on that profit. So quite a significant impact to that bottom line of the business during those first sort of 5 or 6 years following the implementation. So during that time, obviously I mentioned it was an IT project. Quite specifically, we were looking, just to give a little bit more context, around the management systems that really drove the entire business and managed the manufacturing process and all the commercial elements. So when I started with the business, one of the things that prompted the KTP was a dependency on a father and son external supplier who were identified as very high risk So during the first 2 years, we were actually able to eliminate that risk entirely, as well as looking at other aspects of their general IT management, IT supply, which obviously fell outside of the core remit of the project. But being an IT professional with that knowledge and expertise, I was able to bring those additional benefits to the business simply by working with the business for the business. So ultimately, over that time, we created the foundation for what is now an 8-strong IT team, including software developers, hardware, sort of PLC electrical engineers, data scientists who do some very advanced data reporting and analytics for us. And we've also, during the years, Stormking was acquired by the Epwin group of companies. And since that acquisition, we've been providing support across the group, leveraging that development knowledge we have in the IT field to add that same benefit in other businesses within the group. So looking back at that project, you know, one of the key areas where we were able to actually add benefit was that during that 30% growth in turnover over the first sort of 5 years I was with the business, we actually reduced the administrative staff that were required. Now, I think if I look back, we didn't actually remove any staff. The key element was we were able to redeploy staff or just take on more work without having the additional overhead added. So that was obviously one very big benefit, which has continued to support the business in the future. And another key example being a 90% reduction in the business's administrative team generating service issues, which then later added costs to the business, which obviously you know, customers prefer it when we don't make mistakes. So that was those are some of the key benefits from Project One. Al, next slide, please. So the more recent project we undertook, we in the business about 20 to 25 years ago developed our own fleet of RTM injection machines for manufacturing. And what we identified more recently was that they were getting a bit old and they were very difficult to support. So we came back to Al at Staffs and we started the most recent KTP, which focused on the rebuilding of these machines. So what we were able to do during that project is take a computer science graduate, actually a previous placement student from Staffs who'd worked with us before, and we gave them training in PLC engineering and focused really on Industry 4.0 type skills and technologies. So from that, we are, COVID kind of scuppered some of the timelines a little bit, but we are just in the process of pushing the first one of those machines out into the production environment. And as part of that, we have been able to demonstrate when comparing the new injection machine to the old, through the supported shop floor data capture and continuous improvement projects, a reduction in waste material of up to 40%. Now, there's a number of other projects and initiatives going on around it, but effectively the key here is that a lot of these skills weren't something that either the associate or the business had at the point it started this project, whereas now we have what we would recognize as a professional level of skill in PLC and electrical engineering and integrating that with IT systems and data capture systems. So we have also recently been supporting the rest of the group in some projects where those skill sets are quite applicable and important. So one example being we have a lot of extrusion technology in some of the other group businesses, and how those extruders perform and capturing that data in real time and then being able to act upon it is very beneficial to minimizing scrap, waste, poor product, and being able to really understand and drill into what's going on that shop floor, as well as streamlining certain administrative processes where we can as well. So I think that's pretty much everything I was going to go over. So I'm going to hand back to Al now, and if there's any questions, I'll be happy to pick them up towards the end.
Thank you very much, Jake. That's brilliant. Yes, it seems a long time ago now that I first went into Stormking and talked to the MD there about this management information system. And I think what Jake's experience and Stormking's experience really highlights is this benefit of the KTP is that longer term benefit as well. That Jake is still there after 10 years. The current associate who's just in the project that finished earlier this year, or actually last year now, is still in the business and making a big difference across there. So really positive, wider impact. Thanks very much, Jake. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Alex Lomas now. Alex is on screen, so I shall click as you require me to, Alex, but so just give me a nod whenever you're ready for me to go.
Okay, yeah, I'm ready to go. So might as well skip through to the next one, please, Al. Okay, so I think what the previous two presentations have shown is really what's available through Innovate UK on the one side, so on the grant side of things. But at Edge, we come at this in a slightly different way. So we're the kind of the sister element, if you like. So we offer more of a wraparound business support, essentially. So what we essentially do is we will go into a company and we will do a sort of 5 to 10 day business intervention, we'll call it, which is essentially someone like me, a senior innovation business advisor, will go in and we'll look at the company holistically. We'll try and find out where you are, where you want to be, and what you really need to get there. And then through that kind of short, sharp intervention, normally over about a 6-month period, we'll aim to try and tick off a few of those things. What we generally find is that almost all of our interventions kind of cover one or more of 3 main areas, these being exploiting business innovation, sourcing funding and finance, and operating in new markets. And I don't think that's really any big surprise to anyone, business owners. So next, please, Al. So in terms of our reach, there are around 270 MEs essentially across England, Northern Ireland and Wales. Scotland have got their own thing. It's very similar, but it's a kind of a complementary thing. But they've funded differently, so they have to call it something differently. But not only that, we've got kind of so we're nationwide essentially, and we can then leverage expertise in foreign or in international markets in 65 countries with around 600 partners and around 3,000 experts. So we're quite widespread. We can also basically cooler in the world through our links through the Department of International Trade as well. So again, if you want to access an international market, we're a pretty good place to start. Next, please, Al. So the sorts of services we offer, again, they kind of fall into 3 main categories. The first being building a capacity for innovation to grow at scale. So this is essentially all about looking at how your business can develop new products, its capacity to develop new products. Is the business ready? You know, looking at the types of markets that you're looking to enter. Is North America, for example, the best place to go? Should we be looking at Japan, Middle East, somewhere like that? And it's all about providing you the tools to make those decisions better or in a more coherent way than maybe just kind of working your way out as you go. We could also provide connections to, sorry, back. There we go. So we can also provide connections to the innovation ecosystem. So this is very similar to what we're doing today. In that, you know, one of the first things I'll do with any of my clients is to look around the universities local to them and get them to get in touch with people like Al, Steve, etc. Just to have a look at, you know, what's available and see if there's any real complementary sort of thing there. We can also look at exploiting intellectual property. All of us have got, well, all of the the growth specialists have got some kind of experience in intellectual property and its management. We're not IP lawyers, and we're certainly not going to ever give you advice on that, but we can encourage you, or we can provide advice on how you can perhaps maximize what IP you've got, and then look at ways in protecting it as well. We've also got a thing called an IP audit, which is where we'll give you a £2,500 grant for your IP solicitors to look through the IP that you've got and make suggestions on how it can be either exploited or protected in a more effective way. So next, please, Anne. The second area is really looking at how you can source funding for the innovation or the new product development that you're looking to do. The way that we tend to do this is, again, to kind of look at what you actually need, not what you think you might actually need. So we'll think about, you know, where are you now, where do you want to be, and then what's in the middle, what's missing. And what tends to come out of this is a kind of tailored innovation funding package, whereby we'll look at what's available in terms of early R&D grant funding, such as KTP, for example. You know, there's a multitude of others, potentially bootstrapping, bank finance, that sort of thing. And then if you're looking for sort of larger amounts of money, we can potentially look at preparing your company for investment. The way that we do this is through a program that we call PitchFest, which is one of the most successful schemes of its type in the UK, certainly in terms of the amount of finance and funding developed through it. What this is a 3-day intensive course delivered by investors or previous investors, and at the end of that you will pitch to active investors who are looking to invest in these companies. And again, we've got a lot of funding through that, and I'll give an example of that later. Next, please, Al. The third main area that we look at is to open new markets to grow and scale. And we can do this through levering our access through the Enterprise Europe networks and through the DIT teams that are pretty local to us. So we sit in the same office as the Midlands DIT team, for example. So we really do have links worldwide. So if anyone's looking at internationalization, again, we're a pretty good place to start. Another area that we can look at, another scheme, I guess that we set up is something called a Global Business Innovation Program. And again, I'll go into this a little bit more on the next slide. But we can also look at getting you, or allowing you, or funding you sometimes to attend brokerage events, discover international business opportunities. And we've also got a partnerships matching tool. I can't really think of a better term for it than that, whereby we've got about 5,000 partnership requests, if you like. So companies looking for a partner to do X, Y, Z, and that's international as well. So next, please, Al. So the Global Business Innovation Program is essentially a trade mission that we set up in a certain sector. We've got about 10 running at the moment, all in various different areas. So this is where we'll take 15 high growth potential innovative companies, and we'll take them over to, say, Canada or the Far East, and we'll essentially introduce them to like-minded companies and investors in that area. We've currently got several running at the moment. So we've got an offshore renewables or an offshore energy one running in China. We've got a marine robotics one running in Canada, an agri-tech one, an agri-tech one running in Singapore, and there's various ones which come up all the time. Then these are all details of which are all available on our website. So next, please, on. I'll skip over that one actually. The Scale Up program, it's something that's kind of the follow-on to our support. So for the top 5 or 10% of the growth potential companies that we've got, so these are companies which are growing at sort of hundreds of percent per year on year. This is something that we can refer them on to from our scheme as well. So it's an interesting one, but it's perhaps not one to cover today. Next, please. So the type of companies that we've supported in the past. First up, next please, Al, is ID Ward. So this is a company which developed a GDPR compliant solution to allow websites to have cookies on them. And this really allows for advertisers to maintain their revenue streams, essentially. So what the Innovate Edge Advisor helped them with in this case was raising finance. So we put them through Pitchfest. They were asking for a £500,000 raise, which they got, and yeah, they're doing fantastically well, and they're continuing. So they also did the IP audit as well, which revealed that they could potentially apply for 3 patents through the types of activities that they're doing as well. So quite a good, I think, outcome from this one. Next one. We don't just work with STEM companies. Art Fabrications are a metal sculpture kind of company, I guess, best description. And what they were looking for was essentially help with developing a long-term business plan, or a kind of a medium-term business plan. So we've helped them out with their 3-year vision, market analysis, internal analysis, marketing, PR, operations management, process innovation, and team building. So quite a wide spectrum of things. And what this interventions helps this company do is grow 8% within the first year. And they've also started to employ more people as well. And this is really what it's all about. It's all about helping companies grow and helping more people into work. Next, please. The final one's Cop Intellect. And I think this is, it's a similar sort of story to the one that's already been told today, in that what you generally find with Innovate UK grants and these types of interactions is that one builds on another. So what happened with this company is that in 2017, they got a £67,000 grant to develop one of their technologies. On the back of that, through Edge, they got access to one of our GBIP programs, Innovate Canada, which then allowed them to access an incubation scheme in Canada itself, or in the US itself, I think it was. Which has then followed on to more interactions, more collaborations, more international money flowing through the company. And now they're looking to move on to the scale-up system, which I briefly mentioned before. So I think I've just about come to the end of my presentation here. So I'm not going to play the promotional video, but if anyone so wants to, they're more than welcome to at the end, or at their own leisure. And I think that's questions and me done. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Right, we'll come on to Steve. So I'll introduce Steve, and then after Steve, there'll be a bit of a time for any questions and answers. Okay, so Steve, handing over to you.
Thank you very much, Al. That was really interesting, Alex. Thanks for that. And it's always interesting to hear some of the examples that you give there. And I think that just brings it to life. So at Staffordshire University, we're big advocates of Innovate UK and Innovate UK Edge. So we can refer you to Alex if you work with us, and vice versa. Alex from Innovate UK Edge can refer you to us if you work with them as well. So we always advocate that you get as much support as you can with things, and part of my role as employer partnerships manager is to help you out with applications for various programs. So for a KTP, I would be your helping hand to guide you through the process and fill in the paperwork to get the funding, etc. I've just been involved with one recently, and that's starting next week. So the university is very active on KTPs, but my role as well has got several different elements to it. I just wanted really to spend a few minutes just to run through some of the other things that I'm involved with at the university, just to give you some ideas about other things that you can get involved with as well as KTPs. So there's a list there below. So what I'll do is run through each one and just give you a few bits of information. So we do funded support for prototyping and new product development. So what that is if you're a business, perhaps in manufacturing, engineering, you're manufacturing new processes on a regular basis, new products, new services, and you want some support with elements of it, whether it's the CAD design, whether you want us to 3D print something for you, then we can look at that for you, not a problem. We have funding for that as well, so it wouldn't cost you anything to get involved. If you're an SME in Staffordshire, we have funding for you. We also have a specialist project which is all about funding innovation in transport, logistics and mobility. And that program has been running for about 1 year now, a very successful program. We still have space for more projects. So if you've got any ideas about intelligent mobility, in its widest remit, then please get in touch, and we will more than happily give you some information about that project. We do offer incubation, and we've got a startup hatchery, and the photo there on the bottom right is a photo of the space. So we have a shared office where you can rent a desk for just £60 a month, but we also have private offices as well, where you can have your own space within our incubator at quite a low cost, and we will give you added value support, support to recruit students, support on some of the projects that we've mentioned as well. We also do networking events, and we want these businesses to grow, develop, and eventually move out to the university into their own space. So if you are looking at space, you're looking at either downgrading or you're looking at upgrading, if you're a very small business, then please get in touch with us about our space. We have access to specialist equipment, so we've got lots of 3D printers, we've got scanners, we've got a range of equipment at the university, including very high-tech equipment, all about materials, and also VR headsets and space where you can do VR applications. So we've got a wide range of equipment at the university now that we're more than happy to either rent it out to you on a commercial basis, or you'll have access to it through a KTP or through one of the projects that we've just mentioned. We also have funding here to help your skills development as a company. So we do offer CPD and apprenticeship. So CPD is free training for your staff. We have a pot of funding where if you are a Staffordshire SME, we can sign you up and your employees can actually get free training courses, short courses that will help them to grow in their careers and help your business to grow and develop further. And we're one of the leading providers of higher end degree apprenticeships in the Staffordshire region. So please get in touch with us for any of your apprenticeship needs. Of course, we're a university, so we have lots of talented students, and we like to team them up with local companies and like to keep our talent in the local area. So if you're a Staffordshire company and you're thinking about how you can get fresh talent in your business, we've got lots of solutions here at the university, from placement years to our very own agency that we have that can help you to find staff. They can even payroll staff members for you for a certain period as a try before you buy, if that suits as well. So please talk to us about any of your recruitment needs and we'll help you out. We also support large employers with some of the grant funding, etc., KTPs that we mentioned. The majority of the support I've just mentioned is for SMEs. And I'll mention SMEs earlier, and there was a question about the threshold of turnover. So I just want to run through that for you now as well. So you're an SME if you've got less than 250 staff and your turnover is no more than 50 million euros per year. So if that's you, then you classify as a SME. And for a KTP, that means 67% is government funded and you have to put in 33%. But with some of the projects I've mentioned here on this slide, if you're an SME, there's no cost at all to get involved with some of these projects. So again, we're more than happy to speak to you on the one-to-one and run through these in a lot more detail. But really, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of everything that we're doing at the university as well. We've got lots of webinars coming up, so I think my colleague can put a post in the chat for one of the webinars that are coming up about the Pathfinder project. Now, the Pathfinder project will give you a student for 3 months, and that's no charge to yourselves at all. And that student would be supported by an innovation advisor, and what they would do is look to find innovation within your business. So we're opening it up to Newcastle under Lyme companies first, but also then to any companies in Staffordshire. Feel free to come to the webinar that's in the chat box for more information. Even if you're not in Newcastle, please come along as well, because we will have funding for Staffordshire. So that's a new initiative that's coming up shortly, and we'll have a number of webinars over the next month to find out more information. So that's my slide done. So I think we're going to open it up to questions now. The slide you can see now is just how you can contact us. So feel free to give us an email at employers@staffs.ac.uk. Also go on our website for more information. We've got lots of information on there about all of our projects. And if you want to look at our upcoming webinars and events, they're all on our events webpage there, which is on that website there. So there are a few questions coming in now, so we'll jump straight through it now the panel are back. Is 2 years the minimum amount of time needed to deliver a KTP? Is
No.
that one for you? Well,
So you can do a 1 year KTP. So no 2 year minimum. So 1, 2, or 3 years. Generally, they're around 2 years, and you'll find that most of the innovation projects that are going to have that lasting impact are around 2 year projects. But we can talk to you about those if you've got particular challenges or things that you want to solve. And if you get in touch, we can run through those with you.
okay, thanks, Al. So the next question, are there any eligibility requirements for starting a KTP or working with Innovate UK Edge? So that's probably two separate things, really. So do you want to start, Alex? What requirements do you have at Innovate UK Edge to work with companies?
Have to be an SME and have to be UK based. They can be at any stage of being an SME, but we tend to prefer that we work with, so we say more established SMEs, so similar to the sorts of requirements that you're looking for a KTP. And the reason we find that is that because the sorts of things that we tend to suggest or that we can tend to help with, you tend to need that little bit of capacity that you wouldn't necessarily have with a 1 or 2 man company. So.
Excellent.
And from a KTP perspective, yeah, there's no requirements other than minimum of 6 employees. There is always some fuzziness around some of this, so that, you know, if you've got 5 but you've got a great idea and you've got a really strong balance sheet as a business, then it's unlikely that they turn you away. The key things the government are looking for are that it's going to make you a lot of money. It has to make you a lot of money, and there's got to be some innovation there. Other than that, there are no requirements. You can be a business of any size, you know. So when we started out, you guys were an SME. The first one was an SME, and the last one, you were part of a massive group. So yeah, anything from that point of view.
Excellent. We've got another question in. What level of innovation is required for a KTP to be successful?
Okay, for us to get a successful application, it's an interesting question. I'm hoping that you're not Innovate UK asking this question sneakily from the inside. The answer is, I've always been able to find an innovative angle for a project at a business. You know, we've never not been able to do that. And I've got 100% track record with KTPs. So we can always find something. They are looking for innovation, but we're not talking here about blue sky innovation, finding something new to do with quarks. This is more about innovation to your business. It might be applying a new technology or process within your business that isn't used in your sector, or actually could be being used in your sector, but you're not using it and you've got a new way that you want to employ it. So there will always be some sort of innovative angle. And I suppose it's using innovative as a word to think about novelty and newness. And that newness could be to you, to the sector, to actually to IP, to the world, but generally they sit somewhere in the sort of middle lower end of that.
So that's all the questions, I think. So if you have any more questions or you want to get in touch with us, please email us at employers@staffs.ac.uk and we'll get back to you. And that just leaves us to say thank you for listening, and bye for now, and we'll see you on the next webinar.
Thanks very much, folks. Take care of yourselves.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.